Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So I thought it'd be a good thing to talk about the Israel-Iran war today. Okay. So today is June 20th, and at this point, it seems pretty clear that Israel is going for full regime change in Iran. Okay. So um, for most of us following, my channel, we've kind of been at the mindset of no more regime changes, no more wars that involve the United States. Um, and my main issue with it is that these wars seem to empower people in the United States that should not have power. Okay, foreign wars empower the deep state. Okay, so that's kind of why, like initially when all this started during the Biden years, I'm like, you know what, this is not going to be good for us. Okay, so anyway, like it or not, this is what we have. Okay, so now I'm just kind of looking at this situation here, at the point where it is right now, where Israel is like, I mean, they're going all out. They're going forward. I mean, it's not enough. I mean, they have concluded, okay, that it is in their best interest to get rid of this regime in Iran. Okay, and I don't blame them. All right, from like if I put myself in their shoes, right, them living within, I don't know, a couple thousand miles, 2,000 miles, or something like that, away from Iran. I mean, I can see their position. Okay, you know, our position might be different. It's like, why should we have to pay for that? But from their position, it's like, well, if they can get somebody to give them money and give them weapons to get rid of Iran, yeah, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, they're gonna do it. Okay, so that said, all right, this is where we are now. So me looking at this situation, it's like, well, okay, on the one hand, I've got Israel, where I've really never really had an issue with them. I've never seen a situation where they were telling me that they were going to kill me, or that I had to convert to the religion, or I had to die, or that they were going to, basically come here and try to blow up my house. I never had that kind of, a problem with Israel. Whereas with Iran, since 1979, and I was around in 1979. Since 1979, as a kid, I was watching them on TV. This Ayatollah or Ayatollah. I'm watching this guy, and he's basically saying "Death to America, convert or die" to his version of to his version of Islam, or his particular version of that religion. So that's what I've been hearing since 1979. So it's like I'm kind of looking at the situation, and it's like, yeah, you know what? If Israel is pretty much on the verge of basically flushing this guy down the toilet, I'm kind of okay with looking the other way for a couple of weeks, because it seems like they're right there, right? They're right there. It's now, are they going to be able to, like, yeah? I mean, they've completely annihilated Iran's command and control. I see them as kind of setting back Iran to where the United States had set back Iraq at the end of the first Gulf War, where like they kind of still had a military, but I mean, it was just so broken up that after Gulf War One, Saddam couldn't really effectively utilize his military. That's kind of where I see them now, and I mean, they could stop. But I also see the position that they would have is they've invested so much in removing, in taking apart this regime, and defanging them. I mean, I can see their position where it just kind of doesn't make sense. So I was thinking about this earlier. I kind of find myself in a similar situation where it's kind of like when I look at my credit card bill, right, and I see a charge that my wife made, and I'm like, what's this gigantic charge over here? And most of the time it's like, okay, and by the way, I love my wife, but most of the time it's like, well, she wasted money on this, she wasted money on that, she bought these stupid toys for the kids that really don't deserve more toys because they're brats. So most of the time it's like she's wasted. I look at the credit card and I'm furious because all this money's been wasted on. But once in a while I'll look at it and I'm like, what'd you buy here? You paid this for that? That's kind of a good deal. And it's like I'm like, yeah, okay, I think you kind of did okay with this. I'm kind of like a little pissed off that she did it, but not so pissed off because, hey, the thing that she bought is not such a bad thing to have, and she got it at a good price. So that's kind of where I feel like with this situation right now, with this Israel-Iran war. I'm looking at this charge, which I knew was coming because they started it a couple of years back when Biden was in office, and I was pretty furious that they had charged this to my credit card. But now I'm kind of looking at the results, and I'm like, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? This regime here has been saying that they were going to kill me, that they were going to blow up my house, that that my option was to convert or die to convert to their religion or die. So I'm not entirely upset, okay? As long as they get this thing done with sooner rather than later, as long as they don't keep, charging my credit card, I think I can kind of look the other way and, let them, let this thing play out. So, not that I would go fight over there, not that I would send my kids over there, but it seems like they are willing to do the work, okay? So if they're willing to do the work, and you know what, they already charged the credit card, right? They've already got the money. I can't get it back. There's no refunds on this. And, I'm kind of like, okay, you're not getting any more money, but let's see what you guys do. That's kind of how I'm starting to feel about this. So what can they do? Okay, they've completely taken apart the command and control. It was brilliant of them to, on like the first day of this attack, they targeted the scientists, right? The nuclear scientists that build the bombs, and it makes sense because if you're taking out like the military leadership and those people can be replaced, right? The tanks, the missiles, they can be replaced. Even like if they blow up the nuclear bunkers or the nuclear factories, those can be replaced. But the hardest thing to replace is the people that build the nuclear bombs, right? Have experience with that kind of things, that have been building up that experience over many years. Targeting them is quite smart, okay? And I gotta give I've been following this not just on like Fox News and these like major channels. I've actually been watching channels, I forget the name of it, one channel I've been following, I'll put it somewhere in the I'll mention it below. I'll have to look it up, but I'll mention it in print someplace in the video. So this channel is being hosted by a guy who's Iranian, who actually has family back in Iran, okay? He's got like the communications have been cut off now, but for at least the first few days of this of this war breaking out, he was getting information from inside Iran, and video while it was actually being attacked. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people, from what he's telling me, right? And this guy's an Iranian, right? And actually, they don't consider themselves Iranians. They consider themselves Persians, okay? I'll get into that for a second. But there's a lot of people inside of Iran that are cheering for Israel. They want this Islamic fundamentalist regime out of there, okay? They hate it. There's a lot of people inside of Iran that are cheering this. In fact, I did not know this, but until I was watching this guy's channel. But there's basically inside of Iran, the people actually speak a different language. They speak what he called Persian, as opposed to the Arabic that the that the leaders, the Islamic leaders, speak. Okay, and they are ethnically different. They consider themselves different. So that's a really important point here, because one of the things I was wondering is like, okay, you get rid of this leadership, what do you replace it with? Okay, how does who comes to power? Does Israel basically establish a puppet government in Iran? How does that work? Do the other Arab countries come in and establish a government. So there's actually a mechanism already in place that's been there since 1979. So in 1979, the crown prince was chased out, right? Well, he was actually already out of the country getting some type of medical treatment. So in 1979, the crown prince is out. Ayatollah's regime takes over, and the successor to that crown prince is alive today, and actually has a lot. There's a lot of Iranians that are living in exile, and this crown prince, he actually has he was on the news, I think, early, when this thing first started. He actually has a lot of support. So the natural thing for him for this to happen here is for that prince, that crown prince, to basically come back. Okay, and in the last video that I watched of this crown prince talking, he said that he actually, aside from having a lot of civilian support from inside the country and people and Iranian people outside the country, he's actually received support and defections from the Iranian military. Okay, so a lot of parts of the Iranian military, one of which was the Air Force, or whatever's left of the Air Force, had defected to his side, and they were encouraging other people of the military to defect to that side. So that seems to be the natural thing to happen here. So from us looking in from the outside, because I know a lot of you guys weren't around in 1979. Okay, I was. Okay, so to me, it's like this regime in Iran is illegitimate, right? They basically they invaded, they took over they invaded from the outside, took over. So removing this regime, being kicked out, and having the old regime coming in, I mean, what makes one better than the other? I mean, I don't know, but I know that regime wasn't saying, death to America, and convert to their religion or die, right? Well, this one is. Okay, so that's the natural thing that I think that's the thing that's going to happen here. I think that this crown prince that's living in exile is going to come in. He's already has some support from the military, and that military is going to be backed. I think initially by Israel. Eventually, I think Israel is going to kind of step back, and other Arab countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, or Emirates are going to step in and kind of take that role of supporting this new government until it kind of establishes itself. And this is also an important point. Even though these other Arabic governments on paper publicly are against Israel, realistically they're allies. Because if they weren't, they would have basically joined this war on Iran's side. They're bitter enemies of Iran. Okay, so all of them behind the scenes are cheering Israel on. Okay, I think the only one that has said anything against Israel is Saudi Arabia, and they said it, but it's like, they're just saying it to appease certain sections of the population, because again, if they really meant it, they would have done something about it. So I think pretty much everybody in the Middle East, like when you're talking about Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Emirates, they're all behind Israel on this. They all want the Ayatollah gone. Okay, and I knew that before this conflict started. I knew that they were like bitter enemies. Okay, the thing that was kind of like a variable that I wasn't sure how that was going to go was Russia. Okay, and Turkey. Okay, because the main reason Russia and Iran historically have been enemies, because they sort of border each other, and I think that the only reason why Russia would have backed Iran is just to kind of stick it to the United States, but I wasn't sure how far they wouldn't go with that. It seems like they've got they're busy enough in Ukraine. I mean, they did offer, I think, to mediate, or they did offer to take the Ayatollah into exile in their country, but they did not. They weren't. They That's as far as they would, as Russia said that they were going to go. So Russia's not getting involved militarily. Turkey, that was the one that I was really wondering what they were going to do. Um, and it seems to me that like Turkey, right? Their mindset is they want to reestablish the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so anytime you're thinking about Turkey, that's the first thing you got to think of. You got to know what Turkey's end goal is, and Turkey is formidable. They got a formidable economy and a formidable military. They are part of NATO, but they're only part of NATO to the extent that it benefits them. Because again, they are an enemy of Russia. That's the only reason why they're part of NATO. I mean, they would flip on a dime. Okay, so because I think Turkey, Turkey basically wants, like, yeah, they would like to help Iran, but I think to the extent that, hey, Turkey is now going to take over Iran, and I think Iran's position has always been absolutely not. We're going to be the boss of you, right? Iran takes over Turkey, so that type of tension has caused a severe conflict between the two of them, to the extent that which Turkey doesn't want to help Iran. I mean, they're saying crap against Israel, but no way, no how are they actually going to help Iran on this. So Iran is on their own, okay? So yeah, I mean, what's going on now? So yeah, basically, I mean, Iran's been like completely. Iran's been crumbling, militarily. They are still like occasionally shooting out some missiles. I think on the first day they shot something, or the first 2 days they shot something like 100 or so missiles. Now they're down to like maybe 40 missiles a day. So I think what's going on is they've got some mobile launchers, basically trucks that have like rockets or missiles on the back. And they're mobile, so like they're not shooting from a single point. Because what happens as soon as the missile's launched, the Israelis like lock in on it and follow it back and like blow up the launcher. So what the Iranians are doing is like they'll shoot their missile off the truck, and then they'll basically get mobile, right? They'll try to. But here's the thing: they have to go back and reload. From what I heard, they've got like basically. They've got 4 times as many missiles as they have mobile launchers. So that's the bottleneck, right? They have to keep taking the launchers back to reload them. Okay, and Israel's got both airplanes and drones all over the country. So as soon as those missiles are launched. Basically the hunt is on to try to knock out those launchers. So they're still getting some rockets off. They are managing to do some damage inside of Israel. It seems to me like they're doing like general targeting. I don't think they have the ability to do like really precise targeting. They're kind of putting them in the general neighborhood, sort of. I just don't think because it's one of the things that they're saying is that Israel is strategically targeting military targets, whereas Iran is targeting civilians, hospitals, etc. I think that's just the extent. That's as far as the best they can do. Basically, I think that's the best that Iran can do. So I can't kind of blame it from that. Israel knew 100% what they were getting into. They knew they were going to have missiles coming, inbound. They knew that some of them were going to get through. To some extent, I think it is possible that that some of them are intentionally being let through, because if this conflict seems completely one-sided, there would be international pressure for Israel to stop. Whereas if a few missiles are actually getting into the country, actually hitting Tel Aviv, they're like, hey, they're still in the fight. So if they're fighting, we're fighting. So I think that's a little bit of what's going on there. I gotta hand it to Israel as far as their intelligence. I mean intelligence in terms of their spying ability, right? Their spy agency, the Mossad. This whole operation I mean, this is like a master. They've done like a master class in espionage, right? Because they had Iran completely infiltrated. They knew where all the military people are. They knew where all the scientists were. They haven't invaded with an army, but they've invaded with spies. They got spies all over the country. I'm guessing that a lot of them probably have been caught, have been tortured, executed. So it probably did cost them a good deal. And I don't think that, not now, but going years back. I mean, because it took them a long time to build up the level of infiltration that they have now. It must have took them a long time to build up. Along the way, people were probably discovered. So there was a price to pay for them to get to the point where they are now. Okay, so that's where we're at. So I just wanted to give you guys this video because I know. I mean, everybody's heard what's going on. Some people, most people, I think, just follow the general news. I actually dig in a little bit deeper. I'll listen to networks like out of Israel. I'll listen to like pro-Islamic, like I'll listen to Al Jazeera, see what they're saying. I'll listen to like Turkish news. So I try to. There's an Indian channel that I follow. So I've been collecting information from lots of different places, and this is kind of where I see us right now. And yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that I don't want us getting involved in another endless war. I don't think there's going to be an endless war. I think this is going to be a war that finishes, pretty quickly. Okay. I mean, I don't think Iran has any ability to do anything external. I mean, yes, there's individual units out there, even terrorist units. I think there was an attack in England, right? So you're gonna have individual terrorist actors acting independently around the world, right? That's gonna happen. That's part of the cost. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, can't stop that, or at least I can't stop it, but it's going to happen. I think that's the type of ammunition that's basically going to run out. Okay, all these assets that the Ayatollah has in his own country or in the country that he had, and outside of his country throughout the world, I think they're going to be depleted. Okay, I tend to look at things in terms of, I think this should be over in a couple of weeks. I think that the perspective that the Israelis look at it is they probably looking at like 6 months to a year out. So they're probably taking a much longer term view. I think that, like I said, as long as we don't keep sending them money, I'm pretty okay to kind of look the other way and let them deal with it. But all in all, as far as like, because the United States throws money all over the world, this has not been a bad return on that investment. Okay, even though it was involuntary, right? It's kind of like like when I looked at my credit card bill and my wife has charged up a huge amount that I didn't tell her she could do it. And like I said, sometimes I'll look at it and say, "What'd you buy?" All right, that's not that bad, and I kind of, try not to make a, I'll try to kind of swallow my pride. I'm not going to tell her that, you know what, that was a good idea that you did. I'm not going to say that, but I'm not going to complain too much either. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with Israel. I'm not gonna say that, hey, I wanted you to do this, but I'm not gonna complain too much. Let's put it that way, because I think they have done a pretty damn good job over there. Particularly against a regime that, like I said earlier, wants me to the option that they give me is to convert to their religion or their version of their religion, or die. Right? That's the option that they're giving me. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. That's kind of where I'm at with this. But yeah, post some comments below. I'll talk to you all soon.